So when we're looking at the Pisces and we're looking at myth and we're looking at, deeper understanding of the Piscean energy, the Christian era is pretty much known as the age of Pisces. Um, Pretty much every 2,000 years, a new zodiac sign colors man's history and culture. Supposedly now that we are entering the age of Aquarius, or at least we have been the past few decades. Now, the fish is one of the great symbols of Christianity, and in this symbol can be found many important things that pertain to Pisces. Okay. First, aspiration. So, Christianity, one of the essential meanings behind the Christian concept, spiritual concept, is that God incarnates as man. That's pretty much like a halfway point between, it's like a hybrid, got divine man being split between the two. Strong lesson in the Pisces is that you are God here experiencing your life. There's a very strong spiritual understanding that can come or encompass in the spiritual energy of that Piscean energy. Now, being aware of two dimensions like this is confusing, especially when one tends to pop up when the other one should be operating. So we may see sometimes the Pisces, when they're supposed to be focused on something, they might be off in la la land. They're not paying attention, off being dreamy. So that's kind of the sense, is because they drift between the two worlds. So that's why people can say, or why there's the generalization that Pisces are confused a lot of times. All right, now next to aspiration, self-sacrifice. All right, that's in a sense of something, a strong spiritual concept that comes out of spirituality. You know the story of Jesus Christ. It's all out of a sense of sacrifice and you know um, all for the greater good of humanity, dying for the sins of man, so to speak. So Pisces may often be found searching desperately for a cause that they can devote themselves or sacrifice themselves to. It's kind of their thing. It is an ecstasy which most other signs don't want any parts of. And since they all still have some shred of personal sense of their own I-ness, what's for me, own individual drive, but the Pisces does not. Remember, it's about completion for the Pisces, completing the cycle. The end, at the very end, is the sacrifice. That's the last thing you want to do is sacrifice. The last thing you want to do is give up yourself for something else. So that's the very last lesson. That's the strongest spiritual lesson. Compassion and love of an impersonal, unbiased kind is Piscean virtue. That's what you learn from the whole Christ and just studying Christ itself. Now, when we get into the shadow, okay, so every sign has a shadow. That's including the Pisces. As nice as the Pisces is, as forgiving and compassionate as the Pisces is, everything still can work against you, and there's still things that you have to work out. Okay, so Pisces does not know limitations, and this is true with their aspirations also. So that nothing less than union with the divine, the source of life, is going to suffice for them. That's what they are deeply kind of yearning. That's why, like, there's an escapism. It's like trying to escape the world because they naturally are yearning for this connection back to the source because they are at the end. So whether this is achieved through religious longing, creative expression, heroin, alcohol, it's all about the experience of it. See, Pisces, the shadow nature of the Pisces is the victim. Is that being a martyr? Is that victimhood? We can see this in a lot of Piscean energy. They can be taken advantage of. They deal with situations where they're being used, abused, held in bondage, made to feel obligated, made to feel guilty for somebody else's, sins. It's almost inevitable that Pisces, that they're not dealing with some sort of suffering. It's sometimes very hard to tell whether these are the noblest or the silliest, depending on how you want to look at it, whether they are really just saints, or whether they wield the power through making other people feel obliged. But nobody has that power of a martyr like a Pisces. Like the Pisces, and maybe it's a little bit of both when you really look at it, because we're all playing roles, even when we're interacting with other people. So a Pisces is going to interact and engaging, provide Pisces energy. Pisces listen. So many Pisces have a secret fantasy. Many Pisces feel as though they are the most powerless of mortals. Like they secretly envision themselves ruling over everybody. So this is, a secret fantasy in Pisces nature sometimes. It's understandable though. It can be troublesome, dangerous if it's not checked. Because Pisces in their shadow can be very, very cruel. If a Pisces, especially a sensitive Pisces, is brutalized enough, then they will turn to cruelty. That will be an outlet for them. But what kind of cruelty, you might be asking? So we gotta remember, Pisces represent not so much as a type of a person, but it's a rendition of human nature. We're talking about versions of the psyche. So the Pisces is all of us. That's why they're so often the victim. It's exaggerated, but it's there. It's said that the Pisces make wonderful, wonderful healers, priests, physicians, counselors, because they have innate compassion and wisdom and insight, so they can heal because they have been wounded and because there isn't much in human nature that they haven't already dealt with themselves. Remember, they are every other sign, so they have been every victim that you could possibly be. But a too passive of a Pisces is very dangerous. The dark fish is bound to break out sooner or later, either a genuine psychosis or self destruction. So, whether it's quick or slow, like drug addiction or alcoholism, or subtle, unnoticed destruction, whatever the case may be, that's what happens with Pisces. And there's another side now. We talk about um, being misunderstood. The misunderstood Pisces or the Piscean ascendant, strong Pisces energy. It's not about them lacking talent. They don't lack talent. What they could lack is the realism. What they could lack is the ability to bring it real, to make it manifest in the physical. Pisces has such a rich, abundant, limitless imagination, but it may not result in a lot of realism, so they bitterly resent the limitations that come with time and space. So they might be trying to do something that they're limited to do. So oftentimes what they can lack is staying power, being able to stay with something, discipline, continuity, being able to stay with it, just having a respect for hard work. That's naturally something that can propel mediocre people. It's just by staying with something, just being disciplined. Right, so there's a lot of things coming with the Pisces, and Pisces, and they're down and they're negative. They can become embittered. They can be disillusioned. They can give up on things. Because we're talking about the sign of self-undoing. The 12th house is the house of undoing. Self-undoing. It's your own karma. It's truly self-undoing. It's never about the undoing of others. So Pisces has such a wealth of talent, vision, imagination, but yet they can, feel like their life is a failure. And it's because of the shadows, because their visions of self, can be so large, almost to the extent, that they bring themselves self disappointment, because they may not have the focus, the discipline to be able to stay and see it through all the way out until the end. So that's what we get when we talk about the shadow of the Pisces energy. So that pretty much concludes and brings us to the end of the zodiac section. So next